Hey guys, this is part 2 of my video series on the Distinctive Dummies figures that I have, and this one covers the hammer figures, but it's the 8-inch figures. I have some hammer figures that are the 12-inch ones, and some that are in the 2-packs, and I'm going to cover those in separate videos. But these are the single 8-inch 1/9 scale or Mego-scale figures. And we will start with the 4 in the back that you see there. This mummy I'll show first. This is the first Distinctive Dummies figure that I ever bought. And I bought it new, of course. I bought all these new. I'm not going to pay secondary prices. The new prices were high enough. And this is, of course, from the Hammer Mummy movie from 1959 with Christopher Lee as the mummy. You know, it's not much for articulation the way it's wrapped, but it looks good. And the packaging is cool. You know, the backing card looked good. I kind of took the plunge here. I was never into the Mego stuff that much. Here are the other ones in the set. Curse of Frankenstein, Curse of the Werewolf, and Dracula, Prince of Darkness. This is number 22 of 50. But anyway, I learned of this from a website, and it's kind of a message board for monster collectors called the Universal Monster Army. And like I said, I was never into the Mego stuff that much, but I thought, you know, that looks pretty cool. It's expensive. It was 75 bucks, but I went ahead and pre-ordered it, you know. You kind of have to pre-order all this stuff. It'll become available, and then you send the money in and pay for it, and then a few weeks later it'll show up, you know. But you know, this is a great figure, man. Good likeness. You can see kind of on top there where the paint wasn't really fully dry when it was put in the clamshell, and I guess his head kind of rubbed up against the top or whatever, but you know, you're going to run into little things like that with these figures. They're so limited, and they only made 50 each of this first series. Like I said, you know, that's number, what, 22 there, so aren't that many of these things around. And just curiously, I checked eBay before I did this video just to see what kind of Distinctive Dummies figures were available on there, and they actually have one of those things. And that's very unusual. It's usually the newer Distinctive Dummies figures that show up on there. But these 4 in the back here, that mummy being one of them, is the first of the Mego-scale figures that Distinctive Dummies ever did. Before that, they did some 12-inch figures, and I'm pretty sure these came out in 2012. It could have been 2013, but it seems like it was 2012. Here is the next one that came out. Of course, Christopher Lee as Count Dracula, and this is from the movie from 1966, Dracula, Prince of Darkness. The second one that Christopher Lee played Dracula in. You can tell by the red line cape there. It's from Prince of Darkness. And, you know, the card art looks good. Take a look back here. Package designed by Triple B Designs. And that's probably poster art, I guess. I mean, it looks good. I was impressed by it. This is a highly sought after figure. You hardly ever see these come up. And I've seen crazy prices for this thing when it came up maybe a couple of times that I know of. People wanted like $1,000 for it, man. I think I saw one listing for it a lot less than that, like I don't know, $600, $700, and it sold pretty quick at that. So, but anyway, you know, I mean, for the money, if I didn't already have this, I'd be satisfied with the Mego for the money, because I don't drop crazy money on collectibles anymore. And this wasn't crazy. I mean, it was 75 bucks when it first came out. For the quality, I felt good doing that. I'm glad I did. That was the second one that I bought from that first Mego-scale hammer set that Distinctive Dummies did. Here's the Curse of Frankenstein one. Great likeness there. Good sculpt, good paint, good outfit, great figure. These earlier ones say 1/8 scale. That was just an error. They're 1/9 scale. They're 8-inch figures like the Megos. And let's see. This one is number 5 of 50. These clamshells, some of them stay together pretty well, some of them don't. Sometimes you have to put a label or some tape on the edge. See, that one right there is trying to pop open just from me handling it that small amount. After this video, I'll probably put a piece of clear tape on that edge there. I don't think I showed. Maybe I did. That one's 22 of 50. Anyway, Curse of Frankenstein, Christopher Lee. And we go up to the last one in the series. Hammer Werewolf from Curse of the Werewolf, Oliver Reed. And this one is really nice. I mean, I really like this figure, man. Not only is it a great likeness of the character, you know, it's got a lot of gore and stuff on it. I mean, a lot of blood. Just a neat little figure, and it's got a really colorful card in the back, and that's no doubt poster art. I stuck the label in there. That one. I kept all those little paper labels. I don't know why. I'm just a pack rat. But that's number 19 of 50. And this one is one of my favorites. Because it's so colorful and gory, it reminds me of Eerie Publications cover, like from Weird or Tales of Voodoo or Horror Tales or Terror Tales. I mean, it's just really cool, man. Yeah, I wouldn't part with any of these, but that one especially would not be parted with. Okay, that's the first series. And not long afterward, these standalone figures of Peter Cushing came out as kind of a supplement to that first series. This is Dr. Frankenstein. This is 18 of 50. Not very distinct there, but artwork by Robert Aragon. Of course, that's a photo there, but there's the art on the card. And it's a great Peter Cushing likeness with big sideburns and, you know, Baron Frankenstein, Dr. Victor Frankenstein. Probably, well, it's probably Peter Cushing's, my favorite character that Peter Cushing ever did. He's like the ultimate villain. He was the monster in those Hammer Frankenstein pictures. It was the doctor, man. He was the monster. And Cushing was just great with that. And then we have this guy here. Now these two are kind of standalone, like I said. They don't go with any set or anything. It's like supplemental figures to that first set in the back there. Dr. Van Helsing, of course. Nice photo. That's number 39, I guess. Well, it's 37, I guess. It's really indistinct the way came out with that Sharpie there. And wow, we got ladybugs. my clamshell is invaded with ladybugs, man. I guess they like the figure too. I can see where they got in. I mean, I've had this on the wall in there, and they fly around the light sometimes. They got in through that area at the top there and crawled down. Of course, they can't get to the card or the figure, and I don't know the ladybugs will hurt anything anyway. They just kind of get in the way, get flipped around. But anyway, another great Peter Cushing figure of one of his greatest characters, great hero, Dr. Van Helsing, the nemesis of Count Dracula. And here are the candlesticks from the great climactic scene from the end of Horror of Dracula, or just Dracula in the UK, you know, where he crosses them and holds Dracula at bay. You know, he burns up in the sunlight, you know, after Van Helsing ripped the curtains down, ran across the table. I always loved Van Helsing because he was so heroic and energetic. I mean, in the Universal films, you had Edward Van Sloan, who was so old and creaky it looked like he'd fall apart if he got in a fight. But Cushing as Van Helsing, he'd kick your ass, man. He was a bad dude. Okay, now we go to the next series, and see they corrected their error there. That's 1/9. 8-inch figures are 1/9 scale. They're not 1/8. They're just early Distinctive Dummies figures just got that wrong there. But anyway, Baron Meister. They left the N out. Another hiccup. Now, the guy that made these said that he got it right, but the printer got it wrong. So, I don't know. Somebody got it wrong. But, you know, it's a cool figure, and I guess that adds a little bit of charm or flavor to it or whatever. Anyway, it's a screw up, but hey, man, the figure looks great. Looks just like the actor as the vampire in Brides of Dracula. David Peel, I think was his name. And in this series, the second Hammer series, we have, see, they even misspelled it on the back there. They left the N out. It's supposed to be Meister. And the Abominable Snowman, Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell, and the Plague of the Zombies. This is number 3 of 60. I'm interpreting that as a 3. Some people might argue it's a 5. Yeah, it could have been a little bit more distinct about that, but I mean, you know, it's not that big a deal. We know that there were 60 of these made. And yeah, he had expanded it to 60 by now, and they were $80 a piece at this point, I do believe. I think this set came out a year after the first set. Anyway, Baron Meister from Brides of Dracula, and the Abominable Snowman, the Yeti. And we didn't see much of the monster in that movie, directed by Val Guest. He wanted to keep everything mysterious. He did show some quick shots in shadow, though. We got to see the hand and a shot of part of the face in shadow. And the part of the face that we saw, this is a good likeness of it. Really good likeness. Really cool figure. That's number 33 of 60. See, that's pretty clear there. Great art on the card. It's poster art. Great stuff. Art back here, well, it's pretty good there. It just varies, you know. I mean, this particular artist here, I know it's just fan art. It just, that just doesn't appeal to me too much. But hey, the business side of that figure and card look great. Now, Frankenstein and the Monster from Hell. We get the big Neanderthal-looking, hulking wreck of a dude all cut up and sewed back, and it's a monster from hell, man. And he's so bulked up with all this fur and stuff on him, which is supposed to be his own hair, I think, from the movie. He really fills up that clamshell compartment. A hairy dude, the monster. And that's number 30 of 60. Yeah, I'm really glad I followed through and bought these entire sets of these things, because they're real hard to get a hold of now. The ones that Mego made, like this was made by Mego, this zombie from Plague of the Zombies. I just settle for that if it was nowadays. When these finally turn up, I mean, you could have a save search on eBay. They might turn up who knows how long later. You know, if you're still alive, if you don't die of old age waiting on it, and then somebody wants like $300 for it or whatever, and hey man, I just take the Mego. But I'm just glad I bought these back in the day when I had the money. Anyway, there's the zombie. Plague of the Zombies. Great stuff. The Mego figures are really great, you know. I mean, this is a little better than the Mego, I think. It's not $200 or $300 better than the Mego, but it depends on what you want, you know, how much money you're willing to spend. And there's the back, and this is number 47 of 60. Collect them all. Well, I did. I'm glad. So, we have another set from later, and I'll show you those. This is Professor Bernard Quatermass from Quatermass and the Pit, 1967, I believe, the last of the three Hammer Quatermass movies, and it's even got the little Martian in there. Now, in the movie, the Martians were a little bigger than this. I mean, they were small. They were smaller than humans, but they were a little bigger than this. But, you know, for a little freebie thrown in, I think that's a pretty good job. It's a good likeness of the monster, and maybe some of the Martians were that small, you know. But that is a great Andrew Keir as Professor Quatermass. He was always my favorite Quatermass. I know that Brian Donlevy has his fans, and, you know, his stomping around assertiveness and all, but I like Andrew Keir better. And as good as those first two movies were, the Quatermass Experiment and Quatermass 2, as good as they were, I think this is the best one, Quatermass in the Pit. Of course, they had different names in the States. I won't bore you with that. Everybody knows that pretty much is watching this. Now, here are the ones in this set. The Creature, which is the Frankenstein monster from Evil, I think. That one, Professor Quatermass. Captain Kronos, that's a great figure. And the Mummy Prim from the Mummy Shroud. And this is number 54 of 60 of the Prof here. Really nice. And here is Prim. Yeah, that's Prim. You know, and I never thought that the design of this mummy looked as good as the other mummies that are all wrapped up in everything. But I learned that this looks actually more like what a real mummy looked like, the way they wrapped them up. And the movie's pretty good. I mean, it's nothing great, but it's pretty good. It's great compared to other companies' output, but you know, for a Hammer monster movie, it's probably average. This one is number 56 of 60, it looks like. there again, we have Prim. And next, we have the creature from the Evil and Frankenstein. It's a great presentation, a great card. I think they dropped the ball on this figure. The head looks okay, you know. Paint job's good. Sculpt ain't bad. They really dropped the ball on the hands. He's got these little dainty hands, man. He ought to have the big monster hands, man. And the feet especially. I mean, look at the little feet. Yeah, I think Distinctive Dummies kind of did this character a disservice with the little hands and feet. And this dude is begging for big monster hands and big clunky feet with those metal boots he wears. And let's take a look at the back. It's number 36 of 60. There's that famous shot of Barbara Shelley with Andrew Keir from Quatermass and Pit. I guess that's from the poster. But anyway, yeah, there is the creature. And here is a really great figure. This is Captain Kronos from Captain Kronos Vampire Hunter. And it looks just like Horst Jansen. Horst Jansen with a T. I guess you pronounce it Jansen. I mean, some people would call it Janssen, I guess. Maybe that's the correct pronunciation for. But anyway, it looks just like Horst. And Captain Kronos is a great movie, man. Even comes with a nice sword there made of metal. You know, he uses that for a cross when he faces down the vampire in the fight. You know, this is God's blade. And that's number 37 of 60. So, you know, just great figures. Really nice. And I've got one more that I'm going to show in this video. It's not a Distinctive Dummies figure, but it is inspired by Hammer. This is Lilith, Vampire Bride. And she is no doubt inspired by the Euro horror vampires, probably the Hammer vampiresses from the Dracula movies, or maybe the Karnstein trilogy. I mean, that blonde hair kind of reminds me of Uta Stensgaard. The face isn't exactly like Uta Stensgaard, but the rest of the package is pretty close. And this is made by White Elephant Toys. I guess it was or is going to be a series, Murderous Maidens. As far as I know, they haven't done any others. And, you know, this was like really cheap when it came out. I think it was like $25 plus shipping. I got it on eBay from somebody that was handling the eBay sales for White Elephant Toys. There's the White Elephant branding there. But yeah, I just love that figure, man. Now, the Distinctive Dummies guy should use these female bodies and make some Hammer hotties, you know. I mean, they could do a 2-pack with Twins of Evil. They could be identical figures, but it would be appropriate, you know. They could do an Ingrid Pitt figure with from the Vampire Lovers or Countess Dracula. They could do a Uta Stensgaard figure from Lust for a Vampire. You know, they just have to resculpt the head, you know, and the hair, and redo the hair on various ones to match. They could do Barbara Shelley from Dracula, Prince of Darkness. Uh, they could do the Cave Girls. They could do Raquel Welch from 1,000,000 years BC. They could do Victoria Vetri from When Dinosaurs Ruled the Earth. They could do Julie Edge from Creatures the World Forgot. You know, I mean, there are a lot of hammer hotties running around that this type of female body would be perfect for. Because they could do the scantily clad stuff, and it would look right, you know, because of the way the legs are jointed and all that. So anyway, that's Lilith. I thought she was definitely an honorable mention, even though it's not a Distinctive Dummies figure. Because Distinctive Dummies never did hot female characters. They did some female monsters, but, you know, didn't look like that. So anyway, that's my video on my Mego-scale hammer figures. And I'm going to do another video on the 12-inch ones, and those will have a bunch of hammer characters, and another video on the 2-packs, and those have a bunch of hammer characters. And hope you guys like this one okay. So hang tight. In a couple of days, I will do Vincent Price figures next. Distinctive Dummies Vincent Price figures. Till then, keep on monstering.